Hello everybody and welcome to this, my first of 3 videos on the Canon EOS 5D. This is going to be a long slog, so if you have a specific thing you want to look at, just take a look at the video description for the index and you can skip to it. This first video is going to go over what all of the buttons are. The second video is going to talk about what everything does and how to take a photo with this camera. And the third one is going to talk about the menus and custom functions and how to set this camera up for your specific shooting style. So that should help you get to the correct place you need to be to figure out what you need to know about using this camera. The Canon EOS 5D is an interchangeable lens DSLR. It has a full frame sensor with 12.7 megapixels. It shoots at 3 frames per second with 60 JPEGs and 17 RAW files in the buffer. The ISO range is 100 to 1600, but that's expandable to 50 to 3200. This is a pretty old camera, even though it's a full frame. Pushing it much beyond 400, maybe 640 at the most, is really going to make your images suffer from a lot of digital noise. So even though it has that large of a range, might not be the best option to shoot at that large of a range. And also at 50 ISO, I found a lot of noise in this camera's images. So I just keep it set to 1 to 1600 and then only use it between 100 and 400. It has no video recording, shutter speeds of 30 seconds to 1/8000th of a second, and a bulb. The viewfinder magnification is 0.71x with 96% frame coverage. Now what that means is that the light comes through the lens to reach the sensor. What you're going to see in the viewfinder is 71% of the size of what's going to reach the sensor. And if what you're looking at right now on this video is what reaches the sensor, that 96% frame coverage means that about 2% on each side and the top and bottom will not be in the viewfinder, but will be on the sensor. So it gives you a little bit of room to crop a bit when you open these up on your computer, the images up on your computer. It has interchangeable focusing screens, with the basic screen being a matte field screen that shows the autofocus points. And the flash sync speed is 1/200th of a second. The Canon EOS 5D was an advanced amateur, or what they call prosumer camera. It was the only non-professional full-frame DSLR from Canon from 2005 until 2012. And that's not just the 5D, that's some of the successors as well. It is much smaller than the EOS 1 DSLRs, and it does not include pre-programmed modes like some of the lower tier cameras. If you've seen other Canons that have things like portrait and macro and sports mode and all that, you can tell this is a higher end camera because it lacks those features. The 5D was produced by Canon in Japan from 2005 until 2008. It was preceded by nothing directly, as this was the first prosumer grade full frame camera in Canon's lineup. It was concurrent with many Canon DSLRs, the 1DS Mark II and Mark III, the 1D Mark IIN, the 1D Mark III, the 20D and 20DA, 30D, 40D, 350D, 400D, 450D, and 1000D. And one of the things with Canon is they just throw iterations of cameras onto the marketplace with great regularity. So when you have a camera like this, which has a 3-year production run, it's going to be made alongside a lot of different cameras. And it was followed by the EOS 5D Mark II. So now we're going to, as we do with cameras, we're going to go through all of the features on them and talk about what they are. In the second video, we'll talk about how to use them. We'll start here with the strap lugs. This is what you connect your strap to. This is the mode dial, which allows you to switch between shooting modes. That little symbol right there is your sensor plane indicator if you need to take precise measurements for things like macro work. Flash hot shoe. This is your viewfinder diopter adjuster wheel. This is your LCD illumination lamp. Here we have your the LCD screen itself, the autofocus white balance button, the drive mode ISO selection button, the meter mode EV compensation button, top command wheel, shutter release button. On the camera's front, we have the autofocus illuminator, which helps illuminate scenes to assist the autofocus, lens mount, lens mounting index, lens release button, depth of field preview button. On the camera's back, we have the menu button, info button, jump button, play button, print order button, delete button, LCD screen. Now, the buttons here in blue, these only apply when you're in your playback menu. The buttons in gray are command buttons that bring you into different menus. Main power button, rear control wheel. This is the set button, it's called. This is the little joystick dealie. Asterisk button and AF point selection button, and these have asterisk button. These are the modes that they are used in during normal shooting, and then in playback, this will zoom out or go to your slideshow display or your scroll, and then this is zoom in. On the camera's sides, over here we have these different ports, and if we lift these up, this first one has our flash PC port here and remote control port, and this other one has our digital out port and our video out port. Now, this camera does not record video, but you can use a little plug to have it function basically as a camera that sends video to your computer. That's a mini HDMI port, mini USB port rather, so this can connect to computers with a mini USB cable. Whether it can communicate with modern versions of Windows, like Windows 10 and whatever will come after that, I couldn't tell you. On the other side here, we have the CF card port, which is where we'll put the CF card in the second video. On the camera's bottom, we have tripod socket, registration information, the specific model number, which is DS126091, serial number, and the battery chamber right here. And if you have the battery control grip, you can take the battery door off. Some things not to do with your Canon EOS 5D. Don't touch the shutter, which is back here behind the mirror, because you can brick the shutter. And modern shutters are very sensitive, so even if you get your finger oils on them, that can, over time, especially if they attract dust, impair shutter function. Don't touch the mirror. That can lead to desilvering, which will affect autofocus and metering performance. Don't leave your camera or lenses in your car, because heat can damage them, as well as cold. Heat can cause the plastics in them to become warped if it's hot enough. They can also cause the lubricating oils in them to get very thin and get to places they shouldn't be, like on your sensor. I've had lubricating oil get onto camera sensors before. It is a pain to clean off, and it really messes with your image quality. Also, cold can damage your cameras as well. Plus, leaving them in your car is a great way to have your car broken into and your camera stolen. Very bad situation, by the way, if you're coming home from a paid shoot and all of your photos disappear, and you have to tell your client, oh yes, my car was broken into, all of your wedding photos are gone. Don't store your camera gear in a plastic bag or box, because water will permeate plastic and cause fungus to grow on your optics, or can cause mildew to grow in the rubber. Not so much an issue with modern cameras. If you do keep these in a plastic bag or box, just make sure you have a rechargeable desiccant pack, like a Pelican desiccant pack. They usually come in a metal packet. This is not the desiccant pack that comes with clothes or beef jerky. Don't let your camera get wet. Don't believe this one is weather sealed, and water will short it out. Even if it is, generally speaking, I think that lenses like this one specifically are not weather sealed. And just remember that your Canon EOS 5D is a precision tool and should be handled with care and respect. And as long as you take care of your camera will take care of you. Thank you for watching this video. Please give me a thumbs up. That lets me know that I'm on the right track producing content which is useful and helpful to you. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those in the comments section below. I'm pretty good about checking these every couple of days and answering questions. if you have any suggestions or ideas for future videos. And if I have the technical know-how and equipment, I'm more than happy to make those. One last thing. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. I gotta get up, Steinbeck. I have to turn off the camera.